stops. Hey night listener, tonight we enter the shadows. A single street lamp flickers outside your apartment. Rain smears against the window like ink, blurring the city into a watercolor of regrets. Somewhere below, footsteps echo without body. Somewhere above, a radio plays a song you've never heard, but somehow already know. You light a cigarette you don't remember pulling from the drawer, and then the phone rings twice, then it stops. No voicemail, no name, just silence. And that's what makes your skin crawl, because if this story found you, maybe it's because you've been followed too. So, before we vanish into this mystery, like the video and subscribe only if you can handle the truth buried beneath the lies. Now, tell me, are you here for the truth, the thrill, or the justice? Drop your location in the comments below. Let us know which one you're chasing. Now lock your doors, take a deep breath, and follow me into the dark. You stare at the phone like it's about to ring again. It doesn't, but the message is clear. She's back. The last time you heard her voice was in court. She wasn't on trial, you were, and she was the reason you walked. Her testimony, flawless, too flawless. That's what keeps you up at night. You never asked her to lie for you, not in words. Anyway, but she did. And tonight, it feels like she's asking for repayment. The rain intensifies, pinning you inside. You look at the window. A shadow flickers past. Your instincts long rusted tight. Something's been set in motion. On the table sits a letter you're certain wasn't there this morning. Cream paper, red wax seal, your name written in a hand you haven't seen since the trial. You break it open. Inside is a single phrase. Don't speak to anyone. The story's not done. You read it again, and suddenly you're cold, because the signature underneath is hers. No name, just an initial E. You pace. You try to rationalize, but then you notice something else. The smell, faint, floral, like lilac and gunmetal. Her perfume. You walk the apartment slowly, knowing how absurd this is. Yet when you reach the bedroom, the candle by the nightstand is still warm, and you swear it's been lit. You check the locks, bolted, windows closed. Still you feel watched. Your reflection in the hallway mirror catches your eye. You stop. Your face looks the same, but something behind your eyes doesn't. It's that same expression she had in court. The one that said, "I know what you did, and I'm still protecting you." You whisper to your reflection. You knew, but pretended you didn't. And the mirror doesn't argue. Instead, a drip of condensation rolls down the glass, tracing a line right through the center of your face, like a split. You step back. The phone rings again, twice, then silence. And for the first time since the trial, you wonder, what if she didn't save you out of loyalty, but out of design? The clock ticks too loudly. You sit, wait, and you realize something chilling. You're not the only one whose story she rewrote. She's already been here tonight. You double-check the front door, even though you already know it's locked. Not just locked, latched from the inside. Deadbolt, chain, the whole ritual. You do it every night like muscle memory, like a litany against ghosts. But this time, it doesn't comfort you, because something's off. The hallway light flickers. Once, twice. You don't believe in omens. But tonight, everything feels like one. You circle the apartment again. That candle, how could it still be warm? The note still rests on the kitchen counter, but the wax seal is gone now, melted into a perfect circle that wasn't melted an hour ago. You press your fingers to the ceramic candle dish, still warm. She's been here. Not recently, not this week, tonight. And not just in your head. You check the windows. Nothing. The fire escapes undisturbed. The old AC unit rattles faintly in the window. Just like always, you reach for your phone. Dead. No signal. No bars. Just a black screen with your own reflection looking back at you like it's someone else. You tell yourself you're not panicking, but your breath shortens anyway because you feel it. Presence. Not the ghost kind, the human kind. The one that leaves traces of perfume on your pillow and rearranges the chairs by 2 inches. She used to do that back when you trusted her. Back when her alibis were gifts, not chains. Back when you didn't know she kept records of everything. And then your eyes land on the living room shelf. One book is missing. It hits you immediately, the ledger. A cheap leather journal she gave you the night before your court date. You'll need this, she said, for your version. You never used it. You never wrote a single word. But now it's gone. In its place, a new object. A red glove. Elegant. Immaculate. Just one. It's laid flat on the shelf, like it was placed there deliberately. Not dropped. Not forgotten. Arranged. Your heart kicks in your chest. You didn't put it there. You touch it. It's dry, but cold. And inside, tucked deep in the fingers, is a folded scrap of paper. You unfold it. You left the back door open. That's your second mistake. You whirl toward the kitchen, the back door. You don't have a back door, except there it is now. A small door, slightly ajar, glowing faint blue light. You've lived in this apartment for 6 years. You've never seen it before. And yet, it's real. Real enough to creep when you open it. Beyond it, a staircase, stone, narrow, descending. The kind that shouldn't exist in a 5th floor walk-up. You don't want to go, but your body moves anyway. You step through the threshold, and the temperature drops, as if she's waiting at the bottom. And part of you knows she doesn't want you dead. Not yet. She wants you aware. Because this isn't just about what happened. It's about what's happening again. Your hand trails the wall for balance. Cold, damp stone. You count the steps. 12, 13, 14. Then the light cuts out. You freeze. Not from fear. From recognition. Because the shape ahead. It's your desk. From your childhood home. Covered in manila folders. And on top of the stack, the ledger. Open now. Your handwriting inside. But you never wrote in it. Or maybe you just don't remember. On the first page, everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. You blink hard. There's a photo tucked into the journal. It's her, smiling, standing in your apartment, tonight. And beside her, you, also smiling. But you haven't smiled like that in years. What if you've been the suspect all along? The thought hits like a gunshot through fog. The ledger slams shut by itself. And behind you, the door you never knew existed begins to close. Slow, heavy, final. A glove in your freezer. You don't sleep that night. Not really. You lie in bed with the hallway light on. Every creak of the pipes sounding like her whisper. The candle has long since gone cold. And the ledger, now back in your possession, rests on your chest like a confession you didn't write. You stare at the ceiling, trying to piece it together. The missing time, the photographs, the door that shouldn't exist but does, and most of all the glove. Red leather, left hand, left on purpose. You rise before sunrise, drawn by a hunger that has nothing to do with food. You open the fridge to grab a bottle of water, but the freezer hums louder than usual. You pause, open it, and that's when you see it. A second glove, this one black, right hand, half buried beneath a bag of frozen peas, and and a box of long-forgotten pizza. You don't touch it at first. You just stare, and in that staring comes the unraveling. You didn't put it there. You never owned gloves like that. But this isn't about ownership. It's about implication. And suddenly, the placement feels surgical. One glove in plain sight, red, to get your attention. The other, hidden, like evidence. And what if someone had found it before you did? What if that was the plan? You grab a dish towel and pull the glove from the frost. It's still cold, but clean, almost too clean. Inside is something small and sharp. You tip it out onto the counter. A sliver of a broken key, bent, as if it had been used one too many times. Your chest tightens because you know that key. It's to a storage unit on Ashland Street, the one you haven't visited since the trial, the one she insisted you rent in her name, to keep everything safe. She said you slide the broken key into your palm, metal biting flesh, and you know where you're going next. But before you leave, you check the ledger again. Something is different. The entries are multiplied, pages filled in, all in your handwriting. Only you didn't write them. One entry stands out. April 14th, the date of the murder, 8:37 p.m. Left the alley. Gloves removed. Locked the evidence in the unit. She said not to forget. You read it twice. Then again, that's not just your handwriting. That's your voice. Except you remember being at home, watching the news, alone. No one else saw you, which is exactly what made your alibi airtight, which is exactly what made her testimony unnecessary. So why did she insist on giving it? Why did she place herself at the scene with you? Unless this was never about clearing your name, unless it was about controlling the narrative before you ever questioned it. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You don't want to believe it. But the gloves say otherwise. The key says otherwise. The ledger, the ghost version of you that keeps writing without you, screams it. You pocket the black glove, grab your jacket, and leave. But just before you shut the door, you look back into the freezer. There, imprinted in the frost, are words that shouldn't be there. Condensation, a finger swipe, 4 words, written backwards, as if someone inside the freezer had written them. You were never alone. The photograph, you never took Ashland. Storage, looks exactly like it did the last time you were here. Cold, gray, and forgettable. A place designed to be passed by, not noticed. No one looks twice at storage units. That's the point. You park down the street, kill the engine, and stare at the cracked pavement like it might answer something. Then you spotted a security camera mounted above the gate. You remember the day she installed the lock. You're too trusting, she said. These places get looted all the time. But now, you wonder, what was she protecting me? Or the story she needed me to believe? You enter the gate code. Still works. The keypad beeps in rhythm, as if mocking you. Unit number 512. Your hand trembles as you insert the broken key fragment. It slips in, but won't turn. You curse under your breath and jiggle the metal. And then the door unlatches itself. Not from your pressure, from inside. It clicks, slides up 3 inches, then stops. A breath, trapped in your lungs, refuses to move. You bend down, fingers clutching the metal lip, and haul the door up with one pull. Inside darkness, musty, and something smells faintly of perfume. Her perfume, sweet, clean, designed to linger. The kind of scent that says, remember me even after a goodbye. You step in, and your foot lands on paper. A stack of envelopes tied with twine. On top your name. You You untie them slowly, each knot deliberate, each second a small betrayal of what you believed was true. Inside the first envelope, a photograph, printed, matte finish, slightly curled at the edges. You're in it, leaning over a body in an alleyway. Your hand holds something red, and beside you, her face turned, mid-smile, as if caught in conversation with someone else. But here's the catch. You don't remember this moment at all. The timestamp, April 14th, 8:39 p.m. 2 minutes after the ledger entry you didn't write. You flip the photo over. A message is scribbled in black ink. You said you'd forget. I promised you wouldn't. The second envelope contains another photo. Same alley. This time, you're walking away, alone. The body behind you is blurred, but there's a symbol on the wall. A mirror, cracked, drawn in chalk. You stare at it like it might answer a question you don't yet know how to ask. Why would she plant these here unless she knew you'd find them? Unless this isn't blackmail. This is instruction. You open a third envelope. No photo this time. Just a USB drive. And a note. Play this when you forget who planned what. You don't want to, but you do. You slot the drive into your laptop, which you brought without knowing why. The video is grainy, angled security cam style, audio muted. You and her, sitting at a diner booth, April 10th. She's passing you something. You nod, smile. She leans in, mounts something that stops your breath. You rewind, watch it again. She says, just follow the story we wrote. And you do, or did, or thought you did. What if you'd been the suspect all along? The phrase ricochets in your mind like a bullet in a church. You look around the unit. There's more. A manila folder, inside case files from your trial. Only these are annotated, highlighted, and not by the court, by her. Margin notes, post-its, her looping handwriting. She's mapped every question the prosecution asked, then answered it before they did, as if she rehearsed for both sides. You close the file slowly, because now the question isn't, did she help you? It's what if she wrote both alibis and picked which one to say out loud? You back out of the unit, but before you close the door, you glance one more time at the envelope pile. One is still sealed. You tear it open. Inside, another photo. This one's of you, sleeping, taken from inside your bedroom. Last night, the key wasn't yours. You drive for hours, but the roads all feel the same, wet, silvered in moonlight, bleeding with reflections from passing neon. Your thoughts don't follow a straight line anymore. They loop, spiral, like someone's been rearranging the past while you weren't looking. You keep the photograph of yourself sleeping in the passenger seat. You glance at it again, even though you promised not to. She was in your house last night, and you didn't know. You reach into your pocket for the broken key, fingers brushing against cold metal. But something's wrong. It's not the same key, same shape, different teeth. This one doesn't match the lock from the storage unit. This one has a number etched into it. Room 214. A hotel room, but not just any hotel. You recognize the font, the tiny engraving, the Halston, downtown. She always said it was her safe place. Somewhere between a hideout and a stage. Your stomach churns, because she didn't just swap your keys, she swapped the destination. You were never supposed to find the glove in the freezer. You were meant to find this key instead, which means every step you've taken has been hers. You park 2 blocks from the Halston. Its sign flickers above the revolving doors. A single gold H blinks like a heartbeat. You walk in, nod at the concierge. No ID check, no suspicion. wonder if she set that up too. Room 214 is on the second floor, end of the hall. You walk past a mirror. You don't look because you don't trust what might look bad. The key slides in easily. The door opens with a click. Inside silence until you notice the clock. Not just ticking, counting down. 8:52, 8:51, 8:50, and sitting beneath it, a stack of documents bound in red string and a tape recorder, analog, old school. You press play. Her voice fills the room, soft and deliberate. If you've made it here, you're following well. Better than I expected. You've probably found the storage unit. Good. That part was true. But the photographs, those aren't for you. They're for the next person, the one reading your story. You pause the tape. The next person who you press play again. You were always good at noticing details. That's what made you useful, but not good at context. That's why you needed me. You didn't commit the crime, but you watched it happen. The recorder clicks, stops. You stare at the speaker like it might say more, but it doesn't need to. You remember something now. Not a night, not an act, a feeling. Standing still in an alley while she walked towards someone, and the sound that came next, something blunt, something final. You wanted to move, but you didn't. You told yourself it was too late to stop it, that she knew what she was doing, and maybe she did. But now you're realizing, so did you. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You collapse onto the bed. The red-bound file spills open. Inside a map, a route, names circled, yours at the center. This wasn't an escape plan. It was a cast list. She wasn't your accomplice. She was your author, and you were her favorite character. Until now. A knock at the door. You freeze. Another knock. Then silence. Then a slip of paper slides beneath the door. You cross the room. Pick it up. 6 words. Block letters. Stop looking. She's already behind you. You spin. But the room is empty. Or appears to be. Then you see it. The mirror in the far corner. Your reflection stares back. And in the reflection, someone else stands behind you. But when you turn again, nothing's there. Just air. Just you. Just paranoia. Or proof. You lock the door, press your back to it, and whisper the one question you're not ready to answer. What if this alibi wasn't mine, but yours? The clock was counting you down. You don't sleep in the holster. Not because you're scared, but because you don't know what she's timed to happen next. That countdown, it stopped at 0:20 minutes ago. Nothing exploded. No one came through the door. The room didn't collapse inward like a trap door in a courtroom floor. But something did change. The air feels wrong. Watched. You check the documents again. The map shows a route in red ink traced from the Halston to a burned-out diner on Lincoln Avenue. There's a time marked in the corner, 3:15 a.m. It's now 2:47. The tape recorder sits still on the table, but you flip it over. There's another side. You press play. Her voice again, but this time, shakier. You always thought I was the mastermind, the one pulling strings, but I only built the illusion. You were the one who kept the story alive. When you reach the diner, wait 10 minutes, then go to the payphone. There's only one. Don't answer it. Just listen. You stare at the player. There's a rustle on the tape. Then silence. Then a whisper. Your name. You don't know what you did. Click. It ends. You pocket the recorder. You pocket the second photo. You leave the red string behind because the next step is yours. But it doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like a cue. You drive in silence. Headlights carving through a city. that pretends not to know your name. Lincoln Avenue is a ghost town. The diner looks like no one's been inside since the fire. The windows are boarded, the doors chained, but the payphone, it's still standing. It should be. You walk to it anyway. No dial tone, just a soft, mechanical hum. Then it rings. You freeze. Let it ring twice, 3 times. Then press your ear to the receiver and don't speak. A woman's voice cuts through. Distant, warped. You don't recognize this, but this is where it started. This is where we rewrote your memory. You don't need to remember the night, only how you felt afterward. You grip the receiver tighter, because suddenly you do remember. Your hand on a hotel faucet, scrubbing something off your sleeves. Not blood. Ink. Red ink. A message on the mirror. In your handwriting. Keep the story straight. Protect her alibi. Back at the payphone. The voice continues. It was never about guilt. It was about control. You hear your own breath catch. Someone needed a scapegoat. Someone innocent enough to be believed. Complicit enough to obey. The line clicks. Goes dead. You step back. The payphone disintegrates into static hum. Not real. Or too real. And behind you, a cab pulls up. No headlights. No sound. Just presence. The rear door swings open. Empty seat. On the seat, a box. Wrapped in brown paper. No label. You climb in. Because of course you do. Because she knew you would. The cab drives. You don't see a driver. You don't speak. You only hold the box in your lap and read the note taped to its side. Do not open until you remember who you are. Your fingers tremble because you don't know whether that means you should open it or never, ever try. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones, and in the mirror of the cab, your eyes look back at you, but the version staring doesn't blink. The box contained a memory and yours. You wait for the cab to stop, but it doesn't. It just glides through the city like a shadow with wheels past shuttered storefronts, blinking streetlights, intersections that never turn red. You try to speak, but no words come out. The engine hums with a frequency you feel more than hear. You glance down at the box again, still sealed, still breathing. Somehow, the brown paper is soft at the edges, as if touched too many times. The handwriting on the note is hers, unmistakably hers, elegant but sharp. A script that once wrote you love letters, alibi statements, confessions never sent. Do not open until you remember who you are. The box vibrates gently in your lap, not from the car, from within. You reach for the tape, peel it back one slow inch at a time. You shouldn't. You do anyway. Inside a photograph, 2 of you, sitting on a bench outside a courthouse. You're smiling, no, laughing. She's holding your wrist like she's tethering you to the earth. You don't remember this moment. Not exactly, but your body does. A warmth in the chest. A trust you forgot you gave away. There's more inside. A cassette tape marked before the trial. And beneath that, a courtroom sketch. Charcoal, smudged, but clearly drawn. She's seated in the defendant's chair. You're in the gallery. But the disturbing part isn't the sketch. It's the third figure. You, again this time in the jury box. You blink. It doesn't make sense. Unless she wasn't the one with the alibi. You were, and she was the one on trial for protecting you. You close your eyes. Try to make sense of the timelines. They don't match. Not anymore. You remember giving testimony. You remember hiding evidence. You remember not remembering. The driver finally speaks. but it's her voice. You gave me your guilt. I wore it for a while, but guilt ages fast. Now it's your turn to wear the mask. The cab slows. You look out the window. You're not in the city anymore. You're outside a courthouse, but not the one from before. This one is older, boarded, abandoned. You step out, holding the box. The door creaks open on its own. Inside, the courtroom is covered in dust. A gavel lies in the middle of the floor, like it fell during an earthquake. And on the witness stand, a reel-to-reel recorder, plugged in, already spinning. You press play, her voice again. There are two truths to every trial, the one you tell and the one you bury. I didn't lie to save myself. I lied because you asked me to. You gripped the edge of the stand because now you remember what you said that night. If they ever ask, you were alone. That was your plan. But she paid the price for it. She disappeared, left you with a hole in the timeline. A story too perfect to question. A perfect alibi for both of you. But someone found the holes. Someone started pulling at the seams. You walked to the jury box. 12 chairs. Only one is covered in red thread. Yours. On the seat. A folded note. The trial never ended. The verdict was deferred. You were the judge, the witness, and the accused. A mirror hangs where the judge's bench should be. You see yourself, but not now you see yourself then, lying on a table. Lights overhead, a voice whispering instructions, hypnosis, memory erasure. You weren't just a witness, you were a participant, a planner. You created the story you now can't escape. It was never about the truth, it was about control. You looked down at the box in your hands. You were never carrying her secrets. You were carrying your own, and she just made sure you'd finally open them. She had the alibi but wrote yours. First, the courtroom collapses behind you, not with sound, but with certainty unraveling. You don't run. You walk out holding the box, the cassette, the truth that tastes like rust in the back of your throat. You think about the old sketch, the way you were drawn twice. One version seated beside her, another watching from above. Who was watching whom? And who wrote the script? The city is different now, quieter, dimmer. As if your awakening turned down the wattage of every streetlight. You follow the next clue, not with logic, but with instinct, the same instinct that told you to hide the gloves in the freezer, the one that said, burn the letter, but not the envelope. A door in your mind unlocks, and memory rushes in. The hotel room, the ice bucket, the second body. You stop. There's always been a second body. You just never named it. You reach the old train station where no trains run, but secrets always arrive on time. She's there, not in person, in a photograph, taped to the inside of the glass ticket window. She's holding a sign. You missed something. You check the back of the frame. There's a key, brass, heavy, labeled Room 2. The Halston again, but a different floor. You return, key in hand. Paranoia swelling in your ribcage like fog behind glass. Inside room 302 dust. Silence. And a wall of clippings. Your name. Her face. Trial transcripts. Witness lists. Redacted. Shredded. Retaped. In the middle of it all, a clock. Not ticking. Not digital. Just a face with no hands. Below it, a note. The time doesn't matter. You never left this room. You sit on the bed. It's yours. You've stayed here before. You remember now. The dream that woke you at 3:15. The knock on the door. A whisper through the peephole. Don't open it. Not yet. You didn't. Not then. But someone did. And someone died. The missing photo lection 4. your mind whispers was taken from this room. You find the ripped corner of it beneath the bed. The photo's contents still missing, but its frame shows enough. Your silhouette, her shadow, one person standing, one on the ground. You touched the scene first. You wiped the doorknob. She saw, she helped, because you were hers before you were even yourself. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Your memory isn't flawed. It's curated. She wrote it. The alibi, the motive, even the guilt. All you did was believe it. A knock echoes through room 302. Soft, measured. You freeze. You already know it's her. And she's not here to finish the story. She's here to remind you. You don't solve this mystery. You are the mystery. You walk to the door. And this time, you open it. She was gone, but not erased. The hallway beyond room 302 is soaked in gold light, but it feels cold, like memory, pretending to be warmth. There's no one standing there, just the lingering perfume again, lilac and gunmetal. You step out slowly, the floor creaking like it's judging every decision you've ever made. On the floor is a trail of photographs, black and white, glossy, one every 10 steps. Each one is of you. First, outside the courthouse. Then, in a diner you don't remember visiting. Then, sleeping in your car. Then, in a place that shouldn't exist anymore. Your childhood home, long demolished. But here it is, clear as day. And you're standing on the porch, smiling. Next photo of her, standing behind you, not smiling, watching. The hallway bends where it didn't before. The walls change from wallpaper to mirror. You glance sideways and see not just your reflection, but your timeline. Moments you thought were dreams, events you swore were hers, but they're yours. And all of them point to one thing. She's not rewriting your past. She's restoring it. You reach a final door, unlabeled, scratched, familiar. A red ribbon is tied around the knob, a note attached. If you open this, you never close it again. You open it, inside is a single chair, facing an old reel projector, already rolling. The film flickers to life, no audio, just grainy footage. You again, only this time, younger, arguing with someone off-screen, gesturing wildly, blood on your hands. The camera shifts. Her, she's filming, tears on her face, but she doesn't stop recording. The frame cuts to black. Then words appear. You weren't framed. You were protected. And now it's time to remember why. A door slams inside your head. You grab your temple. The pain isn't physical. It's narrative. Truth realigning. You stumble back, knock over the chair. A voice plays next. Her voice, on the tape recorder, hidden behind the projector. You asked me to lie, so I did. But then you forgot why, and that made you dangerous. So I buried the truth until you were ready to carry it again. Are you ready now? You whisper to the air. Yes, a panel in the wall slides open. Behind it, a closet. Inside a briefcase, labeled with your initials. You open it with fingers you don't recognize. Inside a revolver, a receipt, a photo, and a letter addressed to the police, unsigned, unfinished. It begins. The person you're looking for is me. The truth doesn't slam into you. It bleeds. You were the missing puzzle piece all along. You didn't witness the crime. You committed it. She was your alibi, but only because you were hers first. And together you buried the bodies under layers of perfect narrative. Now, the narrative's peeling back, and what's beneath it? might be something you don't survive. Your story wasn't missing. It was hiding. The briefcase sits open like a confession you haven't signed yet. The gun isn't loaded, but the guilt is. You stare at the letter again, fingertips hovering over the faded ink. Your handwriting, but altered, slanted, as if you wrote it with a different version of yourself. One that knew how to lie beautifully and call it love. You slip the letter back inside and reach for the receipt. Gasoline, road, plastic sheeting, date 2 days before the night you forgot. The timeline won't let you pretend anymore. A buzz. Your phone vibrates on the dresser. You don't remember bringing it here. One message. Finish the story, or I will. No sender. No timestamp. Just that. You leave the room without locking it. There's no point locking doors when the danger is already inside you. The hallway is gone, replaced by a corridor of memories, projected on loop, blurry, distorted. Your voice interrogating yourself. Your eyes lying to someone you once swore you'd protect. Her face again and again, morphing between accomplice, victim, lover, stranger. You stumble into the next space, a bathroom, mirrored walls, no reflection, just absence. A message written in fog across one mirror. Look closer. You wipe it clean. And now your reflection appears, but it's not reacting to you. It blinks when you don't, tilts its head the other way, like it's waiting for something. It holds up a photograph. It's of you and her, standing at the edge of a lake, but in the mirror version you're alone. You turn the photo in your hand. The back is inscribed, "One of us was never there." Your stomach drops. You whisper aloud, "Was she ever real?" The mirror, you smirks, and suddenly you remember the therapist, the one you visited after the trial. His words, "It's common for guilt to invent witnesses." You stagger back. Was she a person, or your personified guilt? Was the alibi hers, or a projection you built to contain your own collapse? You search your pockets, find a folded piece of paper. You've seen it before, in a courtroom sketch. It's the real timeline. There's a note beside each date. July 2nd, first visit, July 3rd, the lie, July 5th, the disappearance, July 6th, her name erased from all records and underlined in red. You testify. There was no one else. You drop to the floor. Cold times, colder truth, because you finally understand. You invented her just enough to give yourself someone to blame, and she loved you just enough to stay invented until now. Now, she's become real enough to speak back, real enough to punish. The phone buzzes again. One more step, and you remember everything. One more truth, and I disappear. You look back in the mirror. Your reflection is crying now, and you're not, because some part of you always knew she wasn't your alibi. She was your reckoning. The diary wasn't written for you. You close the mirror door behind you, or maybe the hallway closes it for you. This building doesn't obey physics. It follows memory, and memory obeys motive. You descend a staircase that shouldn't exist. Iron spiral, endless. Every step whispers a line from the letter you never mailed. You hit the bottom when the words stop. Another door, wooden, cracked, engraved. Her initials inside. A room lit only by a desk lamp and a diary. His diary. Your name's not on the cover, but the dread in your chest recognizes the weight. The first page is dated 4 years ago. It begins. She said I'd never survive the trial unless I rewrote the crime. You read faster now. The voice isn't hers. Not exactly. It's his. Someone you thought irrelevant. a side character in your trauma, a juror, a neighbor, a name you ignored. But now, the entries loop you in like a spider pulling a thread. They think I'm just a witness. That's what she wanted. But I saw what he did. I saw him clean the blood from the clock face. He said it was raining. It wasn't. Your stomach knots. He's talking about you. She told me how to frame it, how to make the story fit the silence. She said, guilt is just green with better PR. I believed her. You flip ahead. An entry dated the day before the verdict. I asked if he would ever remember. She said only if he needed to. I think he needs to now. You close the book and notice a cassette tape tucked inside the back cover, labeled play if he forgets again. Your fingers tremble as you insert it into the recorder on the desk. You hit play. Her voice, low, measured, already waiting. If you are listening, it means the memory slipped again. You created me because the truth was too hard to wear alone. But I was never the lie. I was the last honest part of you. The tape clicks, rewinds, you play it again. Same voice, same words, same feeling like your lungs don't know whether to breathe or scream. You pull the diary closer. There's a final entry, hidden in the back, written sideways. He's reading this now. He's starting to remember. And soon, he'll know what he buried, because it wasn't a body. It was a choice. You drop the book, footsteps behind you. You spin. She's there, or her shadow is, and it says nothing, because the next move isn't hers. It's yours. Do you finish the letter, burn the diary, or ask the question you never dared? Was I ever innocent? Your mouth opens. Burani. But no sound comes out. You forgot. Who wrote the ending? The tape keeps whirring, even though the message is over. It sounds like breathing now. Mechanical. Shallow. Alive. You stare at the diary on the desk. Its spine still open like a wound, refusing to close. Its pages hum. Or maybe that's your blood. You were supposed to be the witness, the one remembering. But somewhere along the line, you became the redaction. You stand, done. She's not there. Just a shadow, cast by something that shouldn't make one. It flickers like memory there. Not there. Always watching. You take the diary, the cassette, and the gun from earlier. The weapon you swore was just a symbol. Turns out symbols can still kill, especially when loaded with meaning. Your fingers trace the engraving on the revolver's grip, not your initials, hers. You stagger back. This wasn't your weapon. It was hers. You were just the one holding it when the cameras showed up. Your reflection in the glass cabinet confirms it. The news footage played on the loop. You, dazed, shirt stained, saying over and over, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. But no one had asked. Which means you confessed before there was even a question. Your eyes dropped to the old courtroom sketch. The jurors, the defendant, the empty seat beside you. No, not empty. Erased. You place the tape recorder on the floor and press record. You say, I remember now. I remember what I did. I remember why she had to disappear. She wasn't just my alibi. She was the one who told me to run. You stop the tape. The red light goes dark, but something else flickers on. A TV in the corner of the room, dusty and ancient. It switches to a grainy interview. You again, older, wearing a suit. Behind you, a courtroom fire. Caption unsolved archive footage. The alibi case revisited. You look back at the desk. Another note has appeared, where the diary once sat. You were the one who suggested the plan. You were the one who asked me to lie. And I was the one who kept you from falling apart. Until now, it's signed with a single letter, A. and suddenly the fog lifts just enough for you to know her name wasn't Allison. It wasn't Amber. It was Alter, not a person, a construct, a version of you built from everything you refuse to admit. And now Alter wants the truth to live, whether you do or not. A knock at the door, soft, familiar. You whisper, it's her, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's what's left of you, coming back to finish what you started. The alibi had a voice and a motive. The knock comes again. You freeze, not from fear but recognition, like the sound is echoing from inside you, not the hallway. You reach for the revolver, but something tells you this isn't a moment for weapons. It's a moment for answers. The door creaks open before you can reach it. No one stands there. Just a single object on the floor. A tape recorder, identical to the one on the desk. Labeled, if he remembers. You pick it up. Thumb hesitates on play. Then presses. Her voice. Again. But this time it's not soft. It's resolute. So, you remember now? Good. You asked me to help you disappear, not from the police, but from yourself. You wanted an alibi so perfect, even you believed it. The hallway warps around you as the words tighten like a noose. You lean against the wall. Gold wallpaper, floral pattern, same as her apartment, but you've never been here before. Right. The tape continues. I didn't kill anyone. You did. But I was the one who picked the victim. We both had motives. Mine was justice. Yours was freedom. You clutch your stomach. Not from pain. Something deeper. A recognition in your bones. You slide down the wall. Her voice softens again. Almost nostalgic. You always asked me why I stayed. Why I kept the lie going. It wasn't to save you. It was to finish the story. The hallway tilts. A door opens on its own to your left. Inside a small room. No windows. A typewriter on a table. Beside it, a dozen burned photos in an ashtray. You recognize them. Faces from the trial. The judge. The witness. The one juror who kept staring at you like he knew something more. On the typewriter sits a page, one line, typed. Who are you protecting? You scan the room again. There's only one chair, and it's facing a mirror. You sit. The mirror doesn't show you. It shows her. Her eyes watching you, not accusing, just tired, like she's been waiting for you to finally admit what you've always feared. You speak aloud. You weren't my defense. You were the truth. I couldn't tell. She nods in the mirror, not to forgive, just to acknowledge, and then, slowly, her reflection fades, replaced by you. Only now, you see it, the stain on your sleeve. Not blood, ink. You were the one writing all along, not a participant. The narrator, a twisted voice that crafted guilt into fiction, a lie believable enough to live in. You look down at the typewriter. The keys begin to press themselves. One last chapter. Only one of us makes it out. The tape recorder clicks off, and you finally ask the only question left. What if the alibi was the killer all along? The truth didn't need a witness. You sit frozen in the chair, staring at the mirror that no longer reflects you. It's blank, empty, like it's waiting for you to decide who steps forward next. The typewriter keys clack again without you touching them. Just 2 words this time. Decide now. The room smells like burnt paper and something older, like moldy wood soaked in secrets. You don't want to look at the ashtray again, but you do. One of the burned photos remains partially intact. It's you. But your eyes are scratched out, scratched by fingernails, not fire. Your hand trembles as it brushes against the revolver in your coat pocket. Still warm, still waiting. A soft hum buzzes from the corner of the room. A CRT television on a rolling cart flickers to life. Grainy footage, a courtroom, a defendant you, the jury a blur of indifferent faces. But one stands out now, her, wearing a juror badge, sitting perfectly still, watching you from across the courtroom. You never noticed before. You were so caught in the performance of your defense that you missed her watching the performance of your collapse. The tape rewinds, pauses, zooms in on the moment you lock eyes, freeze frame. There, a voice says from the TV speaker, "That's when I knew you wouldn't confess. So I built you a better lie." The screen goes blank. Your fingers move without thought. Pull the typewriter paper out. There's something written on the back. A contract, typed, signed by both your names. Only both signatures are yours. Different handwriting. Same hand. One neat, calculated. The other frantic. Pressed deep like it was carved. You finally understand. She wasn't your accomplice. She was your consequence. The psychological compartment where you buried motive, rage, grief. She handled the logistics. You just kept your hands clean. And now she wants her name back. A voice behind you. Not a ghost. Not a hallucination. A presence. Real. I held your guilt so you could live your lie, she says. Now, let me go. You spin. No one. Just your reflection again. But this time, the mirror shows both of you. You standing. Her sitting. The typewriter begins to smoke. Then burn. Pages curling inward. One word left visible as the flames consume it. Choice. You weren't the only one watching. The flames crawl up the side of the typewriter, eating memory letter by letter. You don't stop them. What's one more secret burned in a room full of ash? But then another sound interrupts. A click. Not mechanical. Surveillance. You whip around. Hidden in the ceiling corner, half shrouded by dust. A small black lens winks at you. You're not alone. You haven't been. And suddenly, everything that felt internal, psychological, feels broadcast, monitored, manipulated. You pull a chair beneath the camera, climb up, and yank it down. The wires scream like nerves snapping. A small red light on the side blinks twice, then fades. You want to believe you're free of it, but freedom isn't about escape. It's about control, and you never had it. Not really. You return to the chair, the room flickering, as if the power grid is debating whether you still deserve light. In the corner, the mirror is back to one reflection, yours, but something's off. You lean in. Your mouth doesn't move when you do. Your eyes do blink, but slower, detached, like it's watching you watch it. The reflection raises its hand before you do. Then something even worse. It smiles. They're listening now. It says without sound, "You should tell them what you did." You stumble back. The revolver falls out of your pocket, hits the floor with a metallic cry, doesn't go off, because it's not loaded anymore, because she never loaded it, because this was never about the gun. This was about the performance, the diary, the tapes, the mirror, the camera, a courtroom without walls, a trial where the only juror is you. The television flickers again. This time it's a news broadcast. Mysterious fire at the old courthouse annex. No injuries reported. Source says basement was filled with burned files, old psychological evaluations, and a single surviving wheel of tape marked Alibi A. You whisper, "That wasn't a case file. That was a script." Behind you, the door opens again. This time, footsteps. Real, slow, deliberate. Not hers, yours. because it's time to testify, and you're both the witness and the accused. The testimony was written in reverse. You walk toward the door. You don't remember standing, don't remember choosing. It's as if the body moves without your vote. But maybe that's how it's always been. The hallway is longer now, darker. Each step echoes behind you like someone's following, but the footsteps stop when you do. You pass the cracked mirror again. This time, no reflection at all. Just the word scrawled into the glass. Backwards. Confess. Not a suggestion, a command. You reach the courtroom, not the real one, but the memory version, the one she built inside your mind, with perfect replicas and details you never noticed before. The judge's bench is empty. The witness stand is lit by a single buzzing spotlight. And the jury, all of them, are you. 19 versions, different clothes, different ages, but all with the same eyes. Eyes that know what you did and still chose to forget. You take the stand. You don't sit. You can't. You just stand there, in front of yourself, wondering which version is the most dangerous. The stenographer also you starts typing, but the paper feeds in reverse. Words unspool backward, as if the story is trying to rewrite itself. One of the jury youths leans forward, speaks. Tell us, who wrote the alibi? You pause, then answer. She did, but only after I made her necessary. Another version stands. Who chose the victim? We both did, you admit, but she gave it meaning. A third version, and the diary, a decoy. I wrote it in her voice so I could pretend I hadn't spoken. You close your eyes. The silence is deep, wide, alive. When you open them, you're alone again. The jury seats are empty. A single photograph lies on the judge's bench. You walk toward it. It's a candid, grainy, someone watching you from across the street on the day of the original murder. Only now do you realize you weren't the watcher. You were always being watched. In the bottom corner of the photo, written in ink, don't worry, you left enough clues. Suddenly, the courtroom fades. You're in your own apartment again, but every drawer is open, every paper scattered, the diary gone, the tapes gone, and the mirror over your desk shattered. One word scratched into the wall behind it. Next, because now you're not the only suspect. She'd rehearsed your guilt before you knew it. You sit in your apartment, not really sitting, more like sinking. The room is a stage setting that's forgetting how to stay real. Books curling at the edges, shadows lingering too long, clocks ticking out of sync. The word on the wall. Next bleeds into your thoughts. You don't ask. Next what you ask. Next who? There's no answer. Just another key. It's resting where the diary used to be. Brass, old, unmarked. It glints like an afterthought. Like someone left it for you to find just late enough. You pick it up. It's warm, not from the sun. There hasn't been sun in days, but from intent. You pocket it, and something in you clicks too. You were never an accomplice. You were the weapon. She was the hand that swung you. The apartment phone rings. You didn't even know it worked anymore. You answer it, expecting silence, but you hear typing, old keys, mechanical, familiar, and a voice layered behind it. The alibi worked, didn't it? You got away, didn't you? So why are you still playing the victim? You want to respond, but your throat is dry, not with thirst, with guilt. A sound behind you. You turn. Nothing. Except now the key is gone from your hand, and your front door's unlocked, wide open. You rise slowly. Step forward. Your hallway is lit with overhead fluorescence now. Sterile. almost surgical. At the end is a new door. You've never seen it before, but you know where it leads. Not outside, not even deeper in. It leads back, back to the night you told her everything, back to the deal you made with a woman who listened better than she should have, back to the exact moment you mistook her understanding for forgiveness. The door opens before you touch it. Inside, a chair, a recorder, a file labeled Alibi B, and a sticky note. Your turn. The recorder clicks on by itself. The red line blinks, and you say, softly, she planned it all, even this part. But the recorder cuts you off, rewinds, plays your voice back before you ever spoke. She planned it all, even this part, because she'd already written your confession. You're just catching up. The room didn't exist on any blueprint. You don't step inside the room. You arrive inside it. No footsteps, no memory of crossing the threshold. Just a blink, and now you're seated. The walls are bare concrete, but they breathe. The ceiling light hums like it's remembering something. And on the far wall, a chalkboard with words half erased. A good lie starts with a truth no one will believe. You try to speak, but your throat constricts. Not with fear, with recognition. You've seen this room before. In sketches you made years ago. In a dream you were sure you'd never had. In a police report you pretended not to read. This was the rehearsal room, where the lies were tested for believability, where stories were punched into shape like alibis with bruises, and she brought you here long before you ever committed a crime. The table in front of you holds 3 objects. A cassette tape labeled Final Draft. A photograph face down. A scalpel. Clean. Waiting. You press play. Your own voice. If you're listening to this, it means you finally stopped lying about why you came here. The tape continues, emotionless. You thought she was your safety net, but really, you were hers. You were the only part of her story she couldn't fake, so she made you real. The voice pauses, then open the photo. You turn it over. It's a picture of you, but younger, sitting across from her, your mouth open mid-sentence, her pen poised. On the table is the original contract, the one with 2 signatures in your hand. The photo is dated before the crime ever occurred. How did she know? No. How long had she known? You glance at the scalpel. Not a threat. A tool meant not to punish, but to excise, to cut away the parts of yourself she added. Because now, the only way to reclaim your story is to lose hers. Another voice rises from a speaker in the wall. Not hers. Yours. Older. Resigned. You can't unwrite what was rehearsed. The lights flicker. The room begins to shrink. And for the first time in the entire story, you panic. Not because you're trapped, but because you don't want to forget her. Because maybe, just maybe, she was the most real part of you. The confession was signed in your sleep. You don't remember lying down, but you wake up on the cold floor, arms folded like a body tagged and bagged in its own mind. The scalpel is gone, so is the tape. Only the photo remains folded once, now creased down the middle like a broken promise. You feel it in your pocket, even though you never put it there. The room has no clock, but time leaks in anyway, like fog under a locked door. The chalkboard has been wiped clean, but not well. If you squint, you can still read ghost words bleeding through. She didn't frame you. She built you. The air buzzes, not with tension, with verdict. It's already been delivered. You just weren't present. A file sits in front of you now. You didn't hear anyone enter, but it's yours. Labeled testimony corrected. You open it. The handwriting is yours, but slightly off. The letters lean more to the left. like she was writing as you, or through you, inside, page after page of events that never happened, but all of them feel true. You confess to things you didn't do, and now they're real because you believe them. You reach the last page. It's blank, but in faint pencil at the top corner, sign here. You already did. You hold the pencil left for you. You hesitate, and that's when you hear it again. Her voice, not spoken, but felt, like the thought someone places in your head before you realize it's not your own. This was never about whether you were guilty. It was about making you feel like you were. You whisper to the empty room, was I just a decoy? The walls don't answer, but the photo does. It's back now, bears a smudged stamp, filed, and a timestamp. Tomorrow, not today, tomorrow. She filed the story before it even happened, which means she's not running from the law. She's ahead of it. You blink. A mirror now sits where the chalkboard was. It's your reflection again, but something's wrong. This time, it holds the pencil, and you are the one trapped behind the glass. You try to scream, but all that escapes is a whisper. You knew, but pretended you didn't, and your reflection answers. That's why it worked. The ending was rehearsed long before you began. You don't walk toward the final door. You're pushed by the weight of all the truths you accepted without proof. The mirror cracks behind you as you leave the room. You don't turn around. You don't want to see what's on the other side anymore, because you already know. There's a hallway narrow, familiar, impossibly long. On both walls, photos of people you almost were. You in a uniform, you in a courtroom, you in a mall. At the end of the hall, a table. On it, 2 files. One is marked Alibi, the other, Author. You can only take one. You hesitate, because you realize now you were never the subject of the story. You were the format, the container, the silhouette she poured her shadow into. And maybe that was the point, because what's an alibi, if not a second person? A you who never did it, a you who watched it happen from a safe distance. You hear her voice again. Barely I didn't need to lie for you. I just needed you to repeat the lie. You take the author file, because if this ends with a story, you want it to be one you wrote finally. The file is empty, but not blank, written in heat-sensitive ink. The words appear slowly as your breath fogs the page. Congratulations, you're free now, or at least free enough to think you chose. The lights flicker, the floor cracks, the hallway begins to dissolve. Like paper left too long in the rain, you walk toward the dissolve. The rain starts behind your eyes, and still, the one question you never ask out loud, if she wrote my part, who wrote hers? That's when you see it, on the back of the last page, a mirror, your face, just for a second, but smiling, not because you're safe, but because now someone else will believe it was their idea, and the cycle starts again.